the Rubio-Schumer amnesty plan, apparently supported by the donor class, which is why Washington supported it. The Rubio-Schumer amnesty plan passed the Senate, and it was on the verge of passing the House. House leadership intended to take it up and pass it with the Democrats overruling most of the Republicans. And the question for anyone on illegal immigration is, where were you in that fight?
Ted Cruz at a committee hearing very passionately said, I want immigration reform to pass. I want people to be able to come out of the shadows. And he proposed an amendment that would have legalized people here. Not only that, he proposed doubling the number of green cards. He proposed a 500% increase on guest workers. Now his position is different. Now he is a passionate opponent of all those things. So he either wasn't telling the truth then, or he isn't telling the truth now. But to argue he's a purist on immigration is just not true.
Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio during the South Carolina debate Saturday night, attacking each other on amnesty. So where do these candidates and other candidates stand with Palmetto State voters ahead of next weekend's primary? Let's discuss that now in depth. Skyping in from Mount Vernon, Virginia, presidential historian Craig Shirley, and via telephone from Key West, Florida, pollster John Zogby. Now, Craig, it's important to note Rubio pushed that amnesty bill with Schumer. It was his only legislation. Cruz opposed it. But who do you think came out on top in that exchange on Saturday night?
Oh, I think without a doubt Ted Cruz did. And the best indicator, JD, is that everybody in the hall booed him. The RNC has been notorious with packing these halls with lobbyists and high rollers and establishmentarians. So they tended to cheer Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio and boo Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and some of the other conservatives. So that's the indicator, is that while the insiders may have booed him, the outsiders applauded him, which means a point goes in favor to Ted Cruz and a point taken away from Marco Rubio.
Yeah, on top of that, you had Lindsey Graham and Nikki Haley giving out tickets too in South Carolina, and you know where they stand on this. John Zogby, Donald Trump under fire for comments he made about George W. Bush back in 2008 on CNN. Let's listen and watch.
She was going to really look to impeach Bush and get him out of office, which personally I think would have been a wonderful thing.
Impeaching him?
Absolutely, for the war. For the war.
Because of the conduct.
Well, he lied.
And that came up last Saturday night, and Trump was especially vociferous. Now he's since tried to walk some of that back. But, John, the wisdom at a Republican debate of attacking George W. Bush concerning 9/11.
It was hard to figure it out while you were watching it and seeing the boos, hearing the boos, but dumb like a fox, because basically he goes in, in the mid-30s in South Carolina. Polls since the debate indicate anyway that he has stayed in the mid-30s, and now what he does is he benefits a bit by having 3, possibly even 4 candidates of the establishment who are going to, split up the Columbia area and the eastern coastal area, which is, the more modernized and urban and, say, more liberal, moderate part of the state. And so he did, I suppose, what he had to do to just maintain where he was, and he is the front runner.
Well, let's talk about the presence of George W. Bush in South Carolina. Craig, he is in there for Jeb. Is that really going to help Jeb?
Well, it certainly can't hurt. I mean, we all know, we've all seen the polling data, which shows that President Bush, former President Bush, is still very popular with Republicans, especially primaries. But John's on to something. Maybe there was a method to Trump's madness, because Democrats are allowed to cross over and vote in the Republican primary, and next Saturday there is no Democratic primary. There's only the Republicans. So it's possible that maybe 3-5% of the total vote will be Democratic voters, and that could provide the margin of victory for Trump, simply because he went after former President Bush so aggressively. So there might be a method to his madness.
Only about a minute remains. John Zogby, this afternoon, kind of a curious press conference. Donald Trump out attacking Ted Cruz, and right now it looks like the conservative primary vote is going to come down to Cruz, Rubio, maybe Carson, though we're continuing to hear talk that Carson may get out. If the good doctor gets out, or even if he doesn't, who gets the conservative vote in South Carolina?
Well, right now I think that Ted Cruz gets the the conservative vote, but he still has to split a good chunk of it with Donald Trump in the central west and then the Appalachian western part of the state. And so right now, unless something dramatic happens between now and Saturday, it's looking like the polls that we're seeing at this moment probably going to hold. Trump in first, Cruz in a respectable but back down second place, and then three moderates just kind of cannibalizing each other.
Well, we will have to end it there. John Zogby in Key West via telephone, because he's probably in his swimming trunks. Craig Shirley from Mount Vernon. We thank you both for your time. You heard what they had to say. Agree or disagree? Send your comments to me at newsmaxtv.com/comments.